Hey guys, welcome in this new video. I hope that all of you are doing great. In today's video, we are continuing with the trade breakdown series with a very good trade on GBPNZD and also GBPAUD. So let's actually get right into it. So before I start, as always, if you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you do that so that way you are sure to not miss any new videos coming up. Alright, so as you saw today, we will take a look at two different trades. Both of them were on the GBP pairs, and they are, similar when it comes to the overall structure and what I was expecting to happen on those trades, which is why I decided to put, those two in the same videos. And I also closed those two trades earlier today, so that is basically the reason why. But first of all, here is the profit. So as you guys can see, those were pretty good trades, not as big as, for example, the last one, if you guys remember, on Euro-Yen, but they were still pretty good trades. They ended up in great profit. Usually, well, not usually, initially, right, at first when I took the trades, they were more short-term trades, right? I was not really planning to keep those trades for the long term unless they were not going already in my direction. And this is pretty much what happened on those two trades. So you will see why, but those trades ended up being a little bit more midterm. One trade on GBPAUD, I kept that trade for about 1 week, something like that. And the other trade, I've been in that trade for like 3 weeks. So that's why I'm saying that these were not really short-term trades, but more even midterm trades. And the last one, mid long-term trade, depending on your view and your own meaning of what is mid and long-term trading. Before we take a look at these two trades, if you would like to learn more about how we trade, work with us directly, and also join our trading group, all you have to do is check out the first link in the description box below, and it will bring you over to my website, which is my trading course. And there you will find all the information about how you can join us and what you will have access to. So let's actually jump on the chart, take a look at these two trades and see everything about them. Okay, we're now on my chart. Let's take a look at these two trades. So as always, I will show you guys everything when it comes to the trade. So the overall view of the market, the analysis, the expectation, my risk, my target, and all of that. So let's actually get right into it. So first of all, let's start with GBPNZD. I think it's the most interesting trade to look at, and then we will finish with GBPAUD. So if we look at it on the higher time frame, well, what we can see is that we have a down move, we have a correction, we have a down move, and we have a correction right here. So what are the possibilities of how this piece here can develop? Let me just remove that. Okay, perfect. So how can this piece can develop? Well, few main possibilities. As of now, nothing is still confirmed for the higher time frame, but we could potentially see this move, crawl up some more to eventually break those levels. That is a possibility. Or we could see a down move either as a correction here, a bigger one, or as a down move here to go back around those levels. So those are the few main possibilities I'm looking at, but as I said, those are not confirmed. Nothing is confirmed yet for the higher time frame. So all my trades that I took were more for the midterm purpose. Let's put it that way. So if we go now on the lower time frame, let's go on the 4 hour. Yeah, we will probably see that better. So on the 4 hour, I started looking for a sell when we broke out of those levels right here. Now, there is a very specific reason. It's not support, it's not resistance, it's none of that, right? As you guys know, I don't look at these things. I don't even trade according to that. So those are not the reasons, but I was looking at a sell setup when we actually broke this one specifically. So on the lower time frame, let me bring you back to where I took the trade. On the 1 hour, right here around those levels, I saw this move down, this correction here. When we broke out here to the downside, I decided to take a sell exactly right here. So that was for the entry of the trade. My risk was calculated with this level right here, meaning around those price. So as you can see, well, that was my entry, that was my risk. When I say my risk, it doesn't mean stop loss, right? I'm not using any take profit or stop loss on my trade. Everything is manual, and there is a very specific reason of why that is, but I could not even explain that here, because in order to know why I don't use any stop loss or take profit, well, you will need to know exactly how I trade at 100%. So even if I were to explain that in those, you know, free YouTube videos, you can not even understand really the deep reasons of why I do that, because you need to understand how I look at the charts first of all. Anyway, so to come back on the charts, this was the entry, this was the risk. Now after that, after taking the trade, what happened? Well, we got this one more impulse here. At that point, I was like, okay, no worries, because I knew that we could get some more short-term upside before seeing the downside. So I was not really stressed about that. No worries. After we got another correction here, and we got one more up. Now at this point, I was also not really stressed, right? I'm never stressed about the chart, right? I'm never trading out of fear or anxiety or greed or, you know, whatever emotion. I think this is one of my strengths when it comes to being a trader, but I'm able to stay pretty neutral when it comes to the chart. You know, I just don't get involved emotionally when it comes to my trading. So even if I were selling here and we were here, well, no reason to panic, because the chart is still showing me the same thing, which is downside. So this big move up here, pretty strong, that you can see, was caused by a news event that we got. If you see, it was during the 8th of May, right? You can see it right here, basically. So that was the 8th of May. We got a pretty big news upside, and it retraced back right after, as you can see. Then we got the first impulse here. We got a correction here, and we continued the downside with a nice breakout and with small corrections within it as well, but we got a nice downside here. And this is when I closed the trade today, so I took out my trade around those levels here. So overall, if we look at the evolution of that trade, well, I took it here. It went in a pretty big drawdown, actually. Well, big is relative, right? But it's bigger than what I was going for the risk on that trade. But I know as well, you know, that those situations can happen, which is why I'm not using a stop, right? This is one of the reasons why. Even if I get into a small drawdown, well, it just doesn't matter. It's not something that scares me, because, as I said, I know what are the possibilities of that chart developing, and I knew that this was not going up for a long time. It was maybe making one more up, maybe another one, but after that it would reverse, and this is what we got. So this was the entry. My risk was to this level, but it went back to here. No worries. I didn't close the trade, as I said. No need to panic. And then it came back down, and I have been able to close the trade somewhere around here today. So overall, that was the entry, and I closed the trade around those levels. So that was approximately the profit that I made on that trade. You know, if you want to look at it on the size of the chart, basically. So yeah, that is pretty much it when it comes to the trade. Now, obviously, there are a lot more to it than what I can show you guys in those videos, but it comes back to what I said about the stop loss, right? You could not even understand fully what I'm saying and how I trade if you don't have the theory behind it and my own mentorship to know how I look at the charts. So that is the reason why I cannot even explain everything, right? Like sometimes people ask me why I don't go further into the explanations. Well, it's simply because most people will not even be able to understand what I'm saying. So my goal with those videos is to make them as clear as possible for even the new traders, so that they can get at least an idea of how we trade and how we look at the charts. That's really the goal, right? To give value and hopefully to help even the new traders, right? To help as many people as possible with those videos. And in order to do that, I need to make them more simple for people to understand. That's just the idea, right? So yeah, that was basically the overall idea with this trade. That was a pretty good trade, as you guys saw as well with the results. Now let's go take a look at GBPAUD. So this one was slightly different, but not that different. You will see why. So first of all, let's go on the weekly. So weekly chart, what can we see? Well, we have a nice impulse and we have a correction. So what I'm expecting on the very long term, well, this to come back here. Now, this is not the trade that I was going for, right? Because this is a very, very, very long-term trade, and nothing is confirmed yet there as well. So let's go back on the lower time frame, which is where my trade happened. I started looking for a sell when we broke out of those levels right here. Now, the first places that I was looking for that sell was around those levels here. I don't even remember if I actually got a sell or not, but I was looking for a sell. What happened is that it just came back down, you know, a little bit, and we made one more up, and this is where my trade took place. So let's go on the 4-hour. So 4-hour, we see that we have this up move right here, and when we broke once again those level, this is when I started looking for a sell. So after that, on the 1-hour, you will see the sell setup. We got this down move here, we got this correction. When we broke out of the correction, I decided to take a trade around those levels. So that was for my entry. Once again, I had no stop loss or even take profit on that trade. So my risk this time was calculated to, let me just show you. Let me actually zoom in a little bit. Yeah, perfect, we'll see better now. So my risk was calculated to those levels right here. Once again, there's a very specific reason, but you know, the main reason is because this here, even if we broke there, we could have, for example, made a correction here, go back one more up before the downside. That was also a possibility. So by taking that trade, I knew that we had still the possibility of going one more up. Just basically as the GBPNZD, right? You remember I took the trade and I was aware that we could get even some more upside after that, and I was not scared of that. Well, that is basically the same idea. I knew that we could get some more upside on this trade. Even when I sold right here, we had a confirmation for the short term, but not for the mid or long term. So I knew we could get some more upside, and that is why I decided to calculate my risk to those levels. But once again, this here could have been also a possibility depending on your approach of, you know, on that trade specifically. So after that, we continued the downside. It went pretty well. We got a big pattern here. And we started breaking out yesterday, as you can see. So let me erase all of that. So we started breaking out. You know, we got the down move, we got a up move, down, up, down, up, down. But you see that it's not going very aggressively. In those type of situations, what I want to see is something aggressive, right? You get an impulse, you get a correction, you get an impulse, you get a correction, you get an impulse. Now, of course, this is a lot more simplified, right? As I said at the beginning, it's not that easy, right? It's a lot more complex because there are a lot of different variations of how those patterns can play out. So it's not as easy as it seems to be, but that's basically, you know, let's say the main idea behind, you know, the charts and all of that. So in that situation, well, you see that it's going very, very slow. I wanted to see something a little more aggressive. This did not scare me. Well, the chart never scared me. It's just a way of talking, right? You see what I mean? So this did not scare me, this as well. But when we started here going down a little bit and not breaking out totally of this pattern and, you know, making this little up here, I started to look at different possibilities of how this pattern could develop. And as far as I can see, we could get even more upside from those levels. It doesn't mean that it's a necessity, but it's a possibility. And, you know, from experience, I can say that it's a pretty high possibility and probability as well. So this is when I decided to close the trade around those levels right here. So overall, that was a pretty good trade as well, because my entry was here, my exit was here. So overall, that was the profit, if you want to look at it once again on the chart. And yeah, that was a pretty good trade. As I said at the beginning of this one, I wanted to manage that trade more as a midterm trade because nothing is confirmed on the higher time frame, and this is exactly what you can see here, right? Just because we have a setup on the lower time frame doesn't mean that this setup will play out for the higher time frame, and this is what happened here. And when I saw that it was not doing what I wanted to see happening on the chart, I decided to close the trade. So overall, those two trades were pretty good, and we saw pretty much everything, you know, at least the overall ideas for those two trades. So the overall view of the market, the analysis, the entry, the risk, the target, and where I got out of the trade. So these were the trade breakdowns for GBPNZD and GBPAUD. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I hope that it helped you and that you learned something from it. If you did, please share the video around. I would truly appreciate it. And yeah, on that, take care, trade with care, manage your money well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.